This is Gareth Southgate, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England supporters podcast. Been a while since we've had a preview episode, but with the Qatar 2022 World Cup qualifiers coming up, it's time to do just that. We'll look closely at San Marino, Albania and Poland, our three opponents in this upcoming window. And as we always do, we'll speak with people that know a little more than I do. Gareth Southgate has also announced his squad too, so we'll take a look at that. But before that, just a quick mention of some of the previous episodes that you've been kind enough to listen to of late. There was the episode where I spoke with Mark Raven about his trip to France in 1997 to Le Tournoi, where England won a trophy on foreign soil. Yes, you heard that right, a trophy. And then there was the Kazakhstan 2009 episode where I spoke with Les Gasson and Dean Cornish, who told us all about that trip. Both went down really, really well. Both are available to listen to at threelionspodcast.com or your chosen podcast platform. And coming up in the not too distant future, I have some episodes where I've spoken with more England fans, plus also one with a former member of England's backroom staff. And of course, we'll have the review episode where we'll look back on this trio of games with our regular England bloggers. So let's crack on with this one. And with it being an international window, the Young Lions, they are in action too. Now, Gareth last announced a squad on the 5th of November 2020 for the friendly against Ireland and the two Nations League games against Belgium and Iceland. Just over 4 months later, on the 18th of March, he announced his next one, a 26-man list. Now, there are 7 changes since that last squad and 2 new faces. He's had plenty of time to cast his eye over plenty of players in that time. So who's impressed him? Full squad is as follows. 3 goalkeepers, Dean Henderson, Sam Johnston of West Brom, Nick Pope, Burnley. Defenders, Ben Chilwell, Colin Cody, Eric Dyer, Reece James, Harry Maguire, Tyrone Mings, Luke Shaw, John Stones, Kieran Trippier and Kyle Walker. Midfielders, Jude Bellingham, Borussia Dortmund, Phil Foden, Jesse Lingard, Mason Mount, Calvin Phillips, Declan Rice and Southampton's James Ward-Prowse. And up front, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Harry Kane, Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, Raheem Sterling and Ollie Watkins. Now, I'm taking this squad from the official press release by the FA, and it's they that have put Bukayo Saka as a up-front striker. I personally wouldn't. I think I'd have him probably more, I don't know, where does he go? Left back, winger. I'm not sure I would have had him in the strikers category, but nevertheless, we move on. It's a squad that sees players from 15 different clubs. I know you like the stats. Manchester City have got 4 players in it. Manchester United got 4. Chelsea 3, West Ham 2, Tottenham 2, Villa 2, Leeds, Southampton, Everton, Arsenal, Atletico Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, Wolves, West Brom and Burnley with 1 each. Interestingly, there's no players from Liverpool, none from Leicester either. But it's a squad with an average age of 25. And Kyle Walker is the oldest player at 30 years old. And Jude Bellingham, should he play, the youngest at 17 years old. 450 caps between them and 77 goals between them. Now, I'm recording this the day after the squad was announced, so highly likely that maybe 1 or 2 players may come in and out before the games take place. But it's a squad that sees returns for John Stones, Luke Shaw and Jesse Lingard after a period of absence. John Stones last played in the 7-0 home win over Montenegro in 2019. Luke Shaw's last appearance came in the Nations League defeat to Spain back in 2018. You remember, shortly after he'd returned from the World Cup. You may remember this game, as it was the one where Shaw was knocked out cold after a collision with an opponent, and he had to be stretchered off. I think the game was sort of stopped for about 6 or 7 minutes, that one. And Jesse Lingard's last appearance came in the Nations League finals against Switzerland in 2019. So those two new faces are West Brom's Sam Johnston and Villa's Ollie Watkins. Johnston has represented England at under 16, 17, 19 and 20 age levels. He's 27 years old now and actually turns 28 on the day of the San Marino game. Be a nice little present should he take to the field for that one. Despite West Brom battling relegation from the Premier League, he's actually kept 5 clean sheets in 28 appearances this season. Ollie Watkins is 25. He's obviously been doing really well for Villa this season. He's never tasted international football before at any level, but he's certainly adapted to life at a higher level after working his way up the ladder, formerly of Exeter and Brentford. And last season, he was actually the EFL Player of the Year. Some of Gareth's regulars are out due to injury or form. Form being the reason for Trent Alexander-Arnold and Harry Winks, according to Southgate. Goalkeeper Jordan Pickford is out after picking up an abdominal muscle injury against Burnley recently. And with this, Gareth's hand has, pretty much been forced now by picking an alternative trio of keepers. Liverpool's Jordan Henderson has been out for a period of time now after picking up a groin injury against Everton. That was back in February. Jack Grealish has also been out with a leg injury, and Jadon Sancho of Dortmund picked up a muscle injury in a German Cup game recently. And speaking of Borussia Dortmund, Jude Bellingham back in the squad after coming on for 18 minutes against Ireland last November. He's back in the squad. However, with Germany's coronavirus travel and quarantine rules and restrictions, it seems unlikely he'll travel. But he's picked as the rules, as Gareth pointed out, can change ever so quickly. And on the flip side, with Poland's Robert Lewandowski playing for Bayern Munich, he's in the same position. And the Polish FA have acknowledged that he won't be part of the team to play at Wembley. Interesting. Personally, I can see a whole mixture of starting 11s over these 3 games. With them all being squeezed into the space of 7 days, Gareth, I'm sure, will have been nudged by the majority of the club managers to use them sparingly, so they come back fit and ready for domestic competition. Not sure I entirely agree with all of the squad. A few there that raise a few eyebrows, but I've said before, Gareth has his favourites, as any manager does. Players who he feels he can trust on and off the field. Names like Konsa, Wan-Bissaka, Harvey Barnes and Bamford have been regularly mentioned. I think we have to take into consideration that after this international window, we only have 2 more scheduled matches against Romania and Austria before the Euros. And you can't just go picking players on form one break, then change to the next, because in my eyes, that's pretty much a selection policy that we had back from the formation of the FA through to the 60s, in a time when we chose not to participate in World Cups. And look where that got us. Picking so many new players so soon before a major tournament to me doesn't make sense. And with the greatest of respect to San Marino, a new incoming player may have the game of his life against them and come unstuck against Poland. It's all about levels. Keep it settled. So first up is San Marino on Thursday the 25th of March when they visit Wembley for the 3rd time. Our history against them is played 6, won 6, goals for 37, goals against just the 1, which of course is quite a famous one, as scored by David Galtieri back in 1993 after a mere 8.3 seconds.
England in red, San Marino in blue. England needing to win by a 7-goal margin and hope that Poland can do them a favour in Poznan against Holland. I'm sure you're aware now of what's at stake. And Bachoki, number 9, picks the ball up straight away, and San Marino launched the first attack. Oh, and a mistake by Stuart Pearce, and San Marino had scored. I don't believe this. Stuart Pearce tried to pass the ball back to David Seaman. Galtieri, extraordinary start.
Biancazzurri, numero 11, Gualtieri. San Marino che parte subito in avanti, c'è questo gol di Gualtieri.
So San Marino kick off. Remember that Holland on this very ground. Oh, it's a mistake by Pearce and humiliation here. Gualtieri. I was going to say that San Marino conceded a goal in the opening seconds against Holland. Well, it's England that have conceded a goal here. Phil Thompson, can you believe it? Gualtieri is the scorer.
We last met away in 2015 in a 2016 European Championships qualifier, winning 5-0. I'd like to welcome back to the Three Lions podcast Andrea Zoppis, the supporters liaison officer for the San Marino Federation. Andrea, you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you, Russell, for the invitation to your podcast.
No, you're more than welcome. Thank you for coming back. I know you're very busy. What with the game coming up? I mean, are you and the people of San Marino excited for the start of this World Cup campaign?
Yes, of course. It's always exciting when we have to start a new group, especially now where we have to go to Wembley, an empty Wembley, but it's always empty.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate. I mean, how do you see it? Do you see that as a good way to start, or possibly the worst way to start?
Both of them, probably. Of course, England is the most difficult opposite of the opponents of the group, but it's very important to start in a stadium like Wembley against a great country, like a great national team like England.
I mean, obviously you mentioned it will be with no supporters, it's behind closed doors. With your job being supporters liaison manager, how has that's obviously affected you in some way? Are you doing other jobs now?
Yeah. Supporter liaison office is just a part of my work for the Football Federation of San Marino, just a little part.
Right.
And so I have many other things to do, like I work for the licensing office for the UEFA licensing system for the FSGC, and also like the responsible of international management again with UEFA and FIFA for San Marino FA.
Right.
And so SLO and DAO is a little part that unfortunately I have not much to do for the next matches, because for the two home matches against Hungary and Albania, I don't have many work to do without supporters.
Yeah, such a shame. I mean, yourself, are you able to make the trip to Wembley? Will you be there?
No, unfortunately not, because just the team and the staff strictly connect to the match. Right. Without supporters, I don't have the possibility.
Yeah, well, we'll wait for the next time we're drawn together for you to come. Yeah. I mean, go on, you mentioned the team. I haven't actually seen the squad yet. Is there any players that we should look out for?
No, not at the moment. We don't have the squad, selected squad at the moment, because they are waiting for the COVID test before that. Right. After the COVID test, they communicate the squad that will leave San Marino for England.
Okay, so
I really don't know the players and who at the moment. I think that everyone is available for the matches.
Okay, well, just to let everyone know, we're talking on Monday the 22nd. So I guess the squad will be out sort of shortly afterwards, and the players will have had their tests. Well, fingers crossed for everyone being on the good side of things there. Obviously, in the past, we go back to 1993. I imagine David Gualtieri's goal is getting a little bit of media attention at the moment, is it?
Yeah, of course. He's always under attention of the world of football when San Marino plays against England or other country of the Great Britain, like Scotland last year.
Of course.
Yes.
He must enjoy the limelight.
Yeah. You always enjoy it. We also played a game against in the November 2019. We organized a match between our former national team players and Harry Zeros,
right.
An English program. And he played against Seaman, and they had a funny match.
Yeah, no, I remember that. That was good. With the game coming up, you're probably looking more points when you play the likes of Albania and Andorra. But what would be a positive outcome from playing England? What sort of things would you take away? Obviously, you'd like to win or get a draw, but what would be positive to come away from it?
Yeah, I think for two reasons. It will be the first one is that we matched the strongest team of the group as first match, and for the first time, San Marino has to play 3 matches in very few days.
Right,
and this could be a good test to try to level the force and to choose the team for the other matches too.
Okay.
Because of course our main aim is to reach any points inside the group, and probably Andorra is the greatest occasion for that. And it could be a test to understand how to organize the 3 matches scheduled here and in the future.
Okay, so it's not like taking it as like a training match, but it's a chance to look at...
No, of course not.
No, but an opportunity to really look at the players ahead of the other games within the group.
Yeah, exactly. Just to understand how to organize ourselves for the 3 matches, but this is always a great honor to play against a great nation like England and other countries. So never a training and always a match.
Of course, yeah. Perhaps my phrasing was a little bit wrong there, so I apologise.
Mine too.
Well, thank you very much for your time. And I think I mentioned when we last spoke that our games are almost like bookends. We start playing San Marino and then we finish the campaign together at the back end of November. So maybe come towards November time we can speak again, and hopefully things in the world will seem a little bit more positive as well.
Yeah. We all hope that, finger crossed for having all supporters here in San Marino.
I look forward to it, and yes, fingers crossed that I'll make the journey across there again. Looking forward to it. Andrea, thank you very much for your time. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Russell. It's always a pleasure.
Now, Albania. We last met in 2001 in a World Cup qualifier. England won 2-0 in a game that was played at St James's Park. And this was a game that followed the 5-1 victory over Germany. In total, we've only met 4 times. England won all 4 of them. But previously, when the two sides met, although not overshadowed, but certainly taking a piece of the limelight, was English actor cum comedian Norman Wisdom. Sadly, Norman died in 2010, but younger listeners may not be aware of him. He was a popular TV figure in Albania during the communist era, in much the same way the likes of Benny Hill and Mr Bean have previously been in certain European countries. But back in 2001, he was actually visiting Tirana, which coincided with that game between the two sides. Apparently, his appearance at the England training ground overshadowed that of David Beckham. And then before the game, he appeared on the pitch wearing a half and half shirt, which went down really well. And he then went on to do one of his trademark trips on his way out to the centre circle. You might want to YouTube that. And then the last time the sides met, as I say, in the return leg at St James's Park, he appeared again, performing at half-time. Were you there? Okay, I'd like to welcome back to the Three Lions podcast, Elton Kahila, who's joining us from New York, but he's Albanian from birth. Elton, you all right?
I'm all right. Thanks, Russell. Thanks for having me back on the show.
No, you're more than welcome. Thanks for joining us again. Albanian born and bred, but now living in New York. But you still got your finger on the football pulse.
I do try to keep myself updated on everything that's going on in Albanian football.
So obviously England take on Albania. It's on Sunday, the 28th of March. Kickoff is 6 o'clock Albanian time, so I'm guessing that's 5 o'clock our time. And we've just been speaking off air there, or we're speaking now on the day after Gareth Southgate has announced his England squad, that as of the moment, I can't see an Albanian squad being mentioned yet. Is this a normal thing? They leave it a little bit late?
No, I wouldn't say it's typical. I think it's being announced later than usual. I think the Federation has been dealing with some issues on the home front too. They did put in a request with the government. I think it was yesterday when they tried to have 30% capacity. So they wanted to have about 6,500 fans in the stadium. England coming to Albania, it's a pretty big draw, I'm sure the demand would be, through the roof for this game. And the government turned the request down.
Right.
As you know, like the all of Europe has been in lockdown mode for quite some time. Albania has been in the same boat. I think there is a political aspect to this because we have elections in about a little over a month, April 25th. And I think the government has been trying to sort of not allow any political gatherings at all. Okay. So I think they're trying to basically hurt the opposition. So they're not allowing any fans at the stadium because once the 6,500 fans go into the stadium, that they don't have an argument to use against the opposition to say, hey, you can have a demonstration or you can have any sort of gathering. So there's a political aspect to it. I don't think anything's going to change. So I think it will be the game will be played in locked doors. No fans allowed.
Such a shame because having been past that new ground, I think they call it, is it the Air Albania Stadium? Correct. Or something like that? It's a fascinating ground. It's not the biggest, but it looks really nice, really smart. Yet from the outside, you wouldn't know it's a football ground at all. And it's just a shame that no one is going to be able to experience it inside the ground. Obviously, no England fans travelling over there, not able to go. Yeah, it's just such a shame.
It's funny you bring that up because that was also like a huge political topic when the new arena was built. So the old grounds were built when the fascists invaded Albania in the 1940s. That's when they started building the old ground where the new ground is built on. And then the communists finished it in like 1945. So we had a really, really old stadium, like national stadium. So the government built this new stadium, the new grounds, I think in 2019, but it's a mixed use building, right? So it's not just, a football field. They also have shops, restaurants, bars. It's in a pretty exclusive area of the city. It's sort of like very close to posh areas of the town. Yeah. It's next to the our main university. So it's very, very, very well situated. It was built with private funds, so obviously they wanted something in return. So they built these shops, and it's been a bit of a problem. They also built a roof. So when they did that, they did not, I guess whoever built it, they did not account for sunlight, how it's going to affect the grass. So as of last week, there's been like a big issue, a big uproar about the conditions of the field.
Okay,
it's not in a great condition. And they're using this stadium for this new tournament, European tournament, the European Conference League or something like that.
Okay.
In addition to the Champions League and the European League, there's going to be a new European tournament, kind of like back in the days, it was an Intertoto Cup or something like that.
Right.
So the final will be played the first final of that tournament will be played in Albania.
Right. When's that?
I think it's, I would say May of next year.
Right. Okay. So they're preparing for that then, or they want
Correct.
to showcase
So like
that.
they want to. Yeah. So like having England playing Albania, they want to showcase the stadium in a best light possible.
Yeah.
So what they have been doing is they brought these like massive lights, and the field is under like sort of like artificial lights like 24/7.
Right.
And it looks like it's progressing quite nicely. So hopefully, the conditions will be pretty pristine. Although I'm not a big fan of that. I'm like, let's play in the worst conditions possible, so we don't give England a chance, especially the speedy, forwards.
Yeah, you want the advantage.
Exactly. It reminds me of back in the day when Pep Guardiola would, complain about the size of the grass when Barcelona would play in, away games in the Champions League. So I'm like, hey, let's use any advantage we can possibly out of it. But I think the federation is trying to showcase, the stadium, and they're doing their best to, have the conditions in a pretty good shape.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
I think it will be by next Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, advantage-wise, getting off to a good start could be beneficial for Albania, because before you play England, you play Andorra away, and then after you play England, you're away to San Marino. So, I mean, there's a good chance you can get some points on the door quite early, isn't there?
You'd think so, but in our very last home game against Andorra, we tied them.
Oh, really?
2-2. So, I mean, we beat them away. So hopefully we get to beat them away again. I think if we can get any sort of result against England, it would be massive. In our last European qualifying, like for the 2016 European campaign, we beat Portugal away 1-0. And that sort of like, give us a nice, starting point. And we ended up qualifying in the end. So I don't think we're going to get a result, honestly, against England, having seen them, quite a few times. But hey, anything can happen in football.
Exactly. Team-wise, so we don't know the squad as yet, but the only player that I could find that maybe English supporters may be aware of is, and you maybe have to help me with the pronunciation, but a player called, is it Armando Broja? Broja. Who was actually born over here in Slough. He's on Chelsea's books, but I believe he's on loan to Vitesse Arnhem. I think. Yeah, Chelsea got a habit of getting a lot of players and just farming them out everywhere, and he is one of those players. I mean, is there anyone else that maybe we should be looking out for that you could recommend?
Yeah, so I guess the hottest prospect right now, it's this Swedish. I'm not really sure if he's Swedish born, but he has Albanian family origins from North Macedonia.
Okay.
So I think he may have been born in Macedonia, North Macedonia, then moved to Switzerland at a very young age. So he has been called pretty much by all of like the Swiss youth teams, but he decided to make a switch and play for us. So I think he will be able to play against England. His name is Nedim Bayrami.
Right.
He plays for Empoli in Serie B. And then in first place, but I think like he's like one of the hottest prospects in Swiss football right now.
Okay.
We have also been trying to, I guess, have a couple of more like foreign, like I mentioned earlier, foreign-born players to switch over to play for us. I kind of like Armando Broja, right? He was he comes from a northern town in Albania, Shkodër, which is like I think one of the best like football traditions. Some of our best players have come out of there. Our captain is also born there. He plays for Napoli. Said Usai, he plays right back for Napoli. So I think in addition to Broja, I think the other player to keep an eye out for would be this guy, assuming that he plays.
Yeah.
Defensive wise, I think we're pretty solid. Like pretty much all of our defenders play in Serie A. We have a guy at Atalanta, Jim Shidi. We have a goalie plays for Lazio, although he lost his starting spot to Pepe Reina. But like in the goalie position and defensive wise, I think we're pretty strong. But I think we need a little bit more, talent up front. I think Broja will be one of those guys. I don't know how we're going to be able to, deal with the speedy forwards with the likes of Sterling and Sancho. I don't know if Kane is going to play in this game, but I think England has enough firepower up front to cause a lot of damage.
Yeah. Well, living in New York as you do, obviously with a time difference, will you be able to watch the game somewhere suitable?
Oh, I will definitely. So like we have a pretty large expat community in New York, in pretty much all of 5 boroughs. I will most likely end up watching it at one of these Albanian owned clubs where, it's a lot of like people gather for like the national games.
Yeah.
So there will be a pretty large crowd. I don't know like we haven't dealt with watching games yet in these clubs due to COVID.
Yeah.
But I know they're open. People go there, watch like whatever weekend games, Premier League. But they do get some large crowds. I mean, when I say large, it's probably anywhere from like 50 to 100 people.
Yeah, but hopefully we can all get back to watching football in a pub environment, or even better, watching it within the stadiums. But until then, we're going to have to watch it on the telly and be done with it like that. But hopefully it's a good game and the best team wins. And then hopefully we can speak again come the return leg when Albania come to England.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. And if things do open up, I'm definitely making the trip to England.
Well, it's
one of my favorite away trips. And I think we play in November, so hopefully there's not another, wave.
Let's hope so. And yeah, if it comes to it, let's catch up.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, if you end up being at the game, maybe we can grab a drink or whatever it may be.
Sounds good to me. Now, England meet Poland at Wembley on their 3rd World Cup qualifier, Wednesday, 31st of March. Poland, they would have previously played Hungary away and Andorra at home. And joining me for a chat about Poland is Christopher Lash, who currently is in Warsaw and can be found on Twitter at RightBankWarsaw. Christopher, you all right?
Yeah, not bad.
Thanks for joining us again. I know we spoke briefly, what was it, just after Christmas, early New Year, I think, just to sort of see how the draw was, didn't we?
Yeah, a little bit of a chat then.
Since then, I've only just found out that Poland, you've got a new manager.
Yeah, basically the last coach, again, difficult to pronounce, but Brzęczek, who's basically Kubo Błaszczykowski's uncle, he got sacked out of the blue.
Right.
And he was under huge pressure in the Nation League games in the autumn, and everyone thought he'd be sacked then. And then suddenly, I can't remember exactly when it was, late January, early February, he got sacked, and it was out of the blue. No one expected it. Lots of people, it sort of took the sting out of it a little bit because everyone thought it would happen in November, and it didn't. And then obviously shocked even the kind of in the know journalists. And then everyone was thinking, who's it going to be? And quite quickly they decided on Paulo Sousa, the ex-Portuguese really good midfielder. And I think that defender, I can't remember actually where he plays, but he was in that great, Portuguese team with Figo and all those.
Yeah.
And not that amazing a managerial pedigree, but he's done an okay job, I think, at a couple of clubs at Fiorentina. I think he was pretty good. And he was at Bordeaux. He's not a bad coach, apparently, but I don't know that much about him.
Yeah, I think Leicester fans may disagree. He had a bit of a time at Leicester, didn't he?
He was, but apparently, yeah, and you're right. And apparently, he the board really messed around with him. Apparently, signed a player he didn't want, and there was some kind of like mess there behind the scenes. And apparently, it wasn't too bad. And then it was QPR. I think it was at QPR as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, QPR Swansea over here as well.
Yeah, all these kind of but so the point is he's not really top quality, but then I suppose with international coaches managers don't really get the absolute best, do you, anymore?
No. What's the general feeling from the Polish public?
Well, again, people didn't like the previous coach. Everyone hated him. There's a huge amount of people like lack of enthusiasm, stroke kind of dislike of the last coach. So I think people were quite relieved when he was sacked, even though it was out of the blue. So it didn't have the same kind of effect as it would have done if he'd have been sacked in November. But sort of ready to see how he's going to do. I mean, not really. I don't think people really have that great expectations for it. But, with someone like Lewandowski playing completely out of his skin, you've always got that.
Yeah, he's going to
exactly.
Hopefully carry him through the first couple of games. I mean, you'd imagine that you're going to be coming away with 6 points, Hungary and Andorra, and then it's going to come to the England game at Wembley. He's announced his squad, which, I mean, it appears that over in Poland they do things slightly different as to what, say, Gareth Southgate and the FA do here. He's picked a larger squad that he then whittles down to his 22.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's also because it's his first squad as the Polish coach. I think that he doesn't really know that much about. It's obviously probably not watched that much. Some of the better players like Zielinski and Lewandowski and others he probably knows pretty well. And a lot of Poland players play in Italy, and he had a pretty good career in Italy and coached there as well. So I think he probably has his contacts there and watches Serie A a bit. But I think a lot of it's sort of a bit of an, open book for him. He doesn't really know, and he's getting advice from various different people. He's been even appearing at some of the Polish League games and Polish Cup games. The Polish League isn't particularly good standard, but he's been here. So he's been, watching a lot and trying to probably catch up, and decided to appoint, to have a big squad. There's some quite young players in there as well from the Polish. I think there's a guy who plays for a team called Pogoń Szczecin, which is a second league, but it's like a 17-year-old. So he's appointed a couple of a little bit like a Theo Walcott,
right,
in the day, just to see who that, what he's like, and, give him a little bit of a kind of a positive feeling.
So his squad that he's picked is whittled down to 22, I think, and there's some fair few familiar names that people in the UK or in England will recognise, the likes of Fabianski at West Ham, Szczesny at Villa, Bednarik at Southampton, Helik, Barnsley. A fair few players there that are in this country, and Zielinski of Napoli people will recognise, and obviously Lewandowski, but there's more to it than that, because he may not be coming over here, will he?
Yeah, I mean, it's a total mess, bit like everything these days, really. It's really confusing. But, the big thing is that 3 players might not be able to make it over. And that is, they're talking about Lewandowski, Piontek, who's the one who's at AC Milan now. He's at Hertha Berlin. And Milik, who's at Marseille, who's on loan at Marseille from Napoli. Those 3 are in doubt because basically because of the whole, the English strain of the virus, and also because Germany, they're really, really strict. They don't want, they think the players have to go back through and have to go to quarantine themselves for 10 or 12 days. But the problem is that Bayern, I think, have a game, a Champions League game right after the international break. So they really want Lewandowski for that game. And I don't know, Hertha also don't want him to miss the next game. I'm not necessarily sure what it is. And for Milik, because he plays in France, Ligue 1, Ligue 1 or whatever, they don't want players to leave the European Union.
Okay.
So all 3 of those players are, it's going to be difficult. And obviously those are 3 main attackers for the national team. But I've just read, which is completely random, but basically what happens is that the German national team wants to get players back to play for their national team from England, right?
Yeah.
And so they're playing in a town called, I can't pronounce it, but Duisburg or Duisburg, I don't know how you pronounce it. Yeah. Anyway, so what they did is the Länder in Duisburg have, I think it's Nordrhein-Westfalen, whatever. They've created this kind of little loophole, which means that players who come to Germany, to that Länder, to that region, don't have to go through quarantine. So because they want to have Gundogan and all the different kind of German players who are playing in England who can play in those national team games, Germany national team games in that town.
Yeah.
So they're saying that maybe what they might be able to do is get Piontek and Lewandowski to go back via Duisburg. It's just so ridiculous. And then for Milik, I think it's the Secretary General of the Polish FA says that even though they've said that you can't play outside the European Union, players can't leave the European Union apparently he says that that's not a sort of a binding decision, and that they're waiting on political solutions, which means that what they want is that basically they want the German president of, Angela Merkel and Macron to basically allow, Milik, Lewandowski and Piontek to come back. I mean, it's totally just ridiculous. But anyway, so it's something that we have to follow. Really, I'm not sure if they're going to play. I think they'll find a solution. These guys are superstars. I'm sure they can find a way of isolating them. It's all a bit all over the place, but yeah.
Just crazy how club football now is. I mean, club football has always sort of grown bigger than national football, but now it really is sort of club power, I think now, isn't it?
Yeah, but certainly. I mean, it's also difficult to get. I think I was saying earlier on that it's difficult to get really, really top quality managers to come into the national game, which obviously, when I was a kid, it wasn't that case. You could get the best managers. They just wanted to do it. Now they don't really.
Yeah. No, it's a shame. I mean, if Lewandowski doesn't play, are England favourites then?
Yeah, I think England are favourites anyway. But I think that, to be honest, I can't see how he's not going to play. I'm sure they'll find a way to do it. And if he can't play, then it really sort of makes the whole thing, the whole qualifying and talk. I mean, it's a bit silly.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that, obviously Poland isn't just Lewandowski, but, if these kind of things are going to, I don't know how it's affecting the rest. I mean, I'm not really following it, other different international teams and seeing how it's working, but, you can imagine if you were you're at school and, your best player is, caught on a bus in, Stockport, and you can't get to the match, and you're like, well, I don't know, they just closed down Stockport, you can't get out or whatever, I don't know, a town in the south, and then it's sort of a bit unfair, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
It's not their fault, really. I mean, so I think that, I think that he doesn't play that England favourites. I think he does play England the favourites as well, but it's the big, really the two big games are England-Poland really in the group. So if one of the two games is without Lewandowski, it's sort of it's a bit silly, really, and a bit of a shame, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've met 19 times before, and the only one victory for Poland is fairly famous. It came back in 1973 in a World Cup qualifier. I mean, do people still talk about that over there?
A bit too much, really. It's a bit of a broken record, but mainly because it ushered in this, wonderful, got the sort of golden era of Polish football, and the fact that they came third in the World Cup in 1974, and then qualified for 4 World Cups in a row and did really well in 82 as well, came third. So I think it's partly because it's the start of the whole story. Of course, the real start is obviously that match at Wembley with Tomaszewski making all those saves, being a clown and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's really part of Polish folklore. I think if it was just like a little friendly, I don't think it would have mattered anywhere near as much as the fact that it was the beginning of that great era.
Yeah, Christopher, thank you very much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about the game coming up, and go on, give us a quick prediction.
I think England will win with or without Lewandowski. I think that if Lewandowski's there, I think it'll be 2-1. If he's not there, probably 2-0. It's not very positive for Poland's side, but I think that I think that Poland have got much better chance in Poland, and I think that there's a good chance Poland will win them. But I can't see them getting a point over in England. All
right. Well, let's talk again later on in the year, hopefully, when that return leg comes around.
Yeah, definitely. No problem.
Great stuff. Thank you to all our correspondents there, Andrea, Elton and Christopher. Hopefully we'll be speaking with them again later in the year when we all meet again. We've just got time to mention that the Young Lions are also in action. The Under-21s begin their UEFA European Championships group stage games being played in Slovenia. They're all on Sky Sports. Remember, this is a tournament where the group stages are being played now and then the knockouts at the end of May. All because of COVID. But those games are England playing Group D against Switzerland on Thursday the 25th of March, 2 p.m. We then play Portugal Sunday 28th of March at 8 in the evening. And then Croatia Wednesday the 31st of March, and that's a 5 p.m. kickoff. As I say, they're all live on Sky Sports. The under-18s, they have an international match away to Wales on Monday the 29th of March. So there we have it. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. As I mentioned at the top of the show, all previous episodes are available at threelionspodcast.com, including that Kazakhstan one. And if you've liked what you've heard, why not tell your friends? Why not give it a review on the likes of iTunes? Plus, you can follow it on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Just search 3 Lions Podcast. I'll be back very soon with the review episode, looking back on this window with some England bloggers. So stay subscribed for that. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I'll catch you then. Take care. Stay safe. Cheers.